Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our webinar today. This is a really special event. We're going to talk about an online MBA program. And, there's been a proliferation of them. And frankly, many schools just wanted to get them up and go digital. Few schools have truly differentiated their offering. We're going to talk to a dean who's exactly done that, David Hummels, who's the dean of Purdue University's Krannert School of Management. David, welcome.
Thanks, John. It's great to be here and talk about the program with you.
Yeah, now you launched in January of 2020. And what was the size of your inaugural class?
I think our first group was 25. We do 3 ingests a year. We do January, May, and August. I think for the last entire calendar year, we'll have about 200 students starting with us over the course of those 3 ingests.
Immeasurably. And more interesting than that, it's more than double the size of your full-time MBA program that I guess you closed that in the fall of 2020, right?
Well, we paused it, and we're doing some rethinking about how that will work and how we can work in combination with our more flexible programs. But yeah, I mean, to your point, one of the things we have seen is working professionals want more flexible ways to pursue excellent degrees. And so the design of this online program was really aimed at asking the question, how do we meet students in providing the degree programs they need given their life circumstances? And it's pretty clear that a very high quality online program is of interest to increasing numbers of highly capable students.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I wonder if you think that the pandemic has actually accelerated the pace of adoption of online learning for students.
So I think there are a couple of things that have happened here. The first is that a lot of institutions which might have had an allergy to attempting to do online coursework have realized it's maybe not quite the end of the world, and that it's actually possible to deliver high quality programming. We had been experimenting with online work going back 7 or 8 years. So but even before I was dean, as a member of the economics department here, we had launched a master's in economics going back to I think 2012, 2013, and done a lot of experimenting. So we had a comfort level with it that I think some universities have only recently come to experience because they were forced into it. In addition to that, I think a lot of students really kind of had to ask the question, what is it that I'm looking for from a program? Am I willing to leave the workforce for an extended period of time to pursue a degree, or have the number and the quality of online programs caused me to rethink, do I really need to leave work for 2 years? And we're seeing, in terms of the number and especially the quality of the students who've enrolled with us, people are increasingly answering that question by saying, I'm very happy to learn and pursue a degree in this way.
Yeah, I would imagine that it's going to have a bigger impact long-term on the part-time MBA population. Do you think that's true?
It seems likely to me. I mean, we're still seeing a number of students who really want to have an in-person experience, right? And so I think especially in the larger cities, there always is going to be a model there for evening and weekend programs. For those of us who aren't living in large cities, whose institutions are in smaller places, I think it's entirely plausible that online programs or hybrid programs where you give students the flexibility to be online if they want, to be in residence if they want, and to find kind of flexible pathways in and out of their programs, I think we'll see much more of that. Historically, I think there was a tendency to try and say, for every unique student population and every unique set of residential or online or whatever experiences they want to have, let's create a new program that's adapted to what that niche wants. I think the future, and this is certainly where we're going, is you create a program that with flexible pathways, flexible on-ramps, off-ramps, start, stop, do the part in residence that makes sense, And if for the student and the program, if the people want to do it all online, we'll do it that way too.
Yeah, that bodes well for a lot of innovation and a lot of change in the next 5 years in business education, particularly at the graduate level.
No, I think that's exactly right. I mean, one of the things that it allows us to do when you are in a kind of fall spring semester straitjacket, it's hard to collaborate with other units on campus. But because we're able to do some of the new things here, that's opened up possibilities for us. And so with our online MBA, we're offering a number of courses jointly with faculty from one of the best engineering colleges in the entire world at Purdue. And so we're doing, for example, frontiers courses in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, where students have the opportunity to get exposed to some of the best engineering and computer science faculty in the entire world, and then to sort of see the technology piece, but then also understand the business opportunities that are created or destroyed by these new technologies. Those collaborations are feasible in an online and a hybrid environment in a way that they're much, much harder to do. And I'll tell you actually one other course that we're in the middle of putting together now that I'm super excited about. We planned this with my Dean's Advisory Council, who consist of mostly CEOs. We've got a lot of CEOs who graduated from Krannert over the years. And so the course is a day in the life of a CEO. And it's going to be taught by the CEO alumni of Krannert. And they're going to step students through what it's like to be leading a large, profitable, but also very challenging organization, and all the kinds of things they wish they had known when they were kind of earlier in their careers to prepare for the moment when they took on the big chair. That's something we could not do except for in an online environment. We're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, no, that's a really cool example of how using digital technology not only brings the campus together, as you noted with your engineering school, which is world famous, but also with external people who are connected to the university, but often can't get to campus because logistically it becomes difficult.
We have a great alumni base. There are something close to 600,000 Purdue alumni all over the world, and they're very gracious with their time and their energy and their contributions. But they aren't, the number of times you can prevail on them to jump on a flight from Asia to West Lafayette, Indiana, you kind of have to do that sparingly. But when you can, click them in and you get, the leader of one of India's major manufacturing companies to jump online with us and talk about what are the challenges of supply chains in an Asian context over the last year. That creates a richness, but also a kind of, it just becomes much easier for the students and for faculty to connect the kinds of things they're teaching with things that are happening in real time, not just relying on a case that was written by somebody 3 or 4 years ago or whatever. Let's talk about what happened yesterday and how we go from there.
Exciting. I mean, the other obvious benefit of online education is that you can apply what you learn immediately because you are employed. And that has always been a hallmark of executive MBA programs and part-time MBA programs to some extent. But I think the online environment is even better suited for this, don't you?
Oh, I agree. And I'll tell you, as a young faculty member, one of the formative experiences of my career was teaching in our executive MBA program, because it really challenged me to ask the question, I was teaching an international economics course. What is it that I am teaching that is going to shape the decision-making of an executive in my class? And then hearing from them about the challenges that they would have in making a decision to offshore production, for example. That I think elevates what faculty do in the classroom when they have that exposure, but it also creates an opportunity for exchange within the class and with the faculty, and then taking those things back to the workplace in real time, as opposed to waiting a number of years to see how it all plays out. One of the things I'm excited about doing here as well, I mean, that will be a kind of organic part of class in almost every class, but also the opportunity to take on, kind of focused consulting projects where you say, all right, I'm gonna take what I'm learning, I'm gonna go solve a problem that my business has right now, and I think that's the kind of thing that can really elevate the performance of someone who's in the eyes of their supervisors and their leadership. Say, wow, there's a lot of value to what they're getting, and they can see it immediately. So we're excited about that.
That's another interesting thing you're raising, because in the early days, you wouldn't have thought that experiential learning would be easily translated into an online classroom. But in fact, it may be easier to do experiential learning online, mainly due to how easily accessible the protagonists and the companies are than it would be, on a campus.
No, I think that's right. I mean, any business school that runs a significant amount of experiential learning will tell you there's a big lift associated with sourcing projects. Getting a consistent, understanding about what kind of data can be shared, what kind of information can be revealed, all those kinds of things. That's a pretty significant lift. And so, having folks who are living the experiences while they're studying is important. I'd say there's another part here that I'm also very excited about, which is I think a unique angle in our context. Purdue has one of the best technology commercialization programs in the country, consistently generates more intellectual property from campus than almost any other university in the world. And so what that means, over the last 6-7 years, we've made a very significant push to take that bench science and to commercialize it. There's also a back catalog of intellectual property like you wouldn't believe. That creates a really extraordinary opportunity for students in our program who want the experience of helping to take some of that technology and get it off the ground through startups. So it's a target-rich environment. So we've got folks working on everything from virtual reality games to cancer treatments to rocket fuel to almost anything you can imagine that would come out of the science and engineering labs of one of the strongest STEM universities in the world, much of which has got direct commercial application, if only they could get the business students who can take their expertise and combine it with the science and make it a reality. So we have one of the tracks in the online MBA is a specialization in innovation and technology commercialization that gives students both the coursework necessary to succeed and then a target-rich environment of technologies they might want to partner up with in taking them to market.
Right. Well, that's really cool, and that is clearly a point of major differentiation. Now, you've taken basically a data-driven approach to teaching the MBA online. Can you talk a little bit about what that means?
Sure. So a starting point for us in thinking about how do we distinguish what we want to offer compared to a lot of programs out there was in recognizing our strengths. And we've talked a little bit about the strength of being on the campus of one of the best STEM universities in the world. But Krannert, for a very long time, has been among the best business analytics shops anywhere in the world. Consistently, our faculty are ranked in the top 5 or top 10 business analytics categories. And we've been running a residential master's program, business analytics and information management, that is consistently ranked #1 by a number of publications, 100% placement rates, amazing starting salaries, and really burgeoning in size. So we asked ourselves, how important could we make a program or those kinds of capabilities? How integral could we make that to an online MBA? So what do we do? Mm-hmm. The first piece of this is sort of working to ensure that students are getting exposed to data analytic tools, and then kind of early on in the curriculum, and then having experience with using that in many of the courses. It's not just you take one quant methods course over here and you're done with it. It's integrated into a lot of the coursework, and it could be finance, it could be HR practices, it could be marketing. A pretty significant focus on the way in which data drives decision making in business. The reason we think that's so important is that, and it's not just the fact that we're good at doing it, it's the fact that data is going to be a source, or is a source, of competitive advantage across a broad range of industries. That's only going to become more important over time. And so we really feel that a modern manager, a modern leader, has got to have at least some facility with those kinds of skills. And if you want to go deeper into it, we'll take you as deep as you want to go. If you want to learn how to build machine learning models to understand your marketing projects, we'll do that for you, or we'll do that with you, I should say. And then a lot of the experiential stuff that we were talking about earlier. A hallmark, I think, of what we've been able to do in residence and that we're porting to the online space is saying there are a huge number of companies who are behind the curve in terms of their application of data science to solving problems. And so they're looking for talent, and they're looking for problems to be solved in real time. And we've been very successful with getting student or faculty-led student teams to take on serious problems, serious challenges that companies have, solve them, and then in the process, represent their capabilities and then go on to get hired. So that model we think will be very successful for us as well in the online space. And I believe we will have one of the strongest business analytics curriculum available anywhere in the world. And that's steadily building up. We're just launching a new program in data science and finance, as an example, joint with our College of Science. So it runs through a lot of stuff we do because we think data and data analysis is going to be at the heart of competitive success for every single business. And you simply can't avoid it if you want to be a leader.
Yeah. And I think this has become like a central trend in business education and in business because of the demand for it. As big as globalization, as big as entrepreneurship, because after all, companies now have available to themselves massive sets of data. And the challenge is harnessing the data to make it effective for smart decision making. And as you point out, David, many companies haven't figured that out. And so they're very eager to hire people who can tackle that challenge for them.
One of the things that we hear is companies are really struggling with hiring business students who don't know enough data science to be useful, or data scientists who don't know enough business to be useful.
Right.
What they need is programs that bridge those capabilities. People who have enough exposure to deep enough techniques in modern data science, but then know how to apply those in the service of driving business decisions. So if you'd like to think about the model, it's really kind of three steps. You define a business problem, you translate that into a data problem, or data and analytic problem, and then you turn that into a set of business decisions, right? And I think that trying to take each one of those steps requires both data science understanding, and it also takes an understanding of what is important to business. I love my colleagues on campus, but the folks across campus who don't have a business background can be wowed and excited by very deep data science problems that are simply not that relevant to business decision making. If you pair the two together, though, you generate an enormous amount of value. So, so we're pretty excited about the stuff we have already built there. And now that we're using it in the online space, we think we'll be able to reach a dramatically larger number of students, and in the process, help a transformation of business along the way.
And David, you spoke earlier about the interdisciplinary approach you're taking on things like machine learning, artificial intelligence, and how they're going to shape the future of business and life, and bringing that into your online MBA program. What about business analytics? Is there an interdisciplinary approach to that as well, or not necessarily?
There is. Well, I think the first piece is that as we've gone through and hired faculty over the last 5 or 6 years, we are increasingly hiring faculty whose PhDs and whose research foundations are in hardcore data science. And so what that really, we're hiring computer scientists, we're hiring statisticians, but people who have application of those fields into a business context. So the starting point of interdisciplinarity is how we hire our faculty and develop them with an explicit recognition that this is the methodology of the future. The second piece of that is we have this amazing partnership with the College of Science, one of the best data science and best statistics programs in the country. And so we work closely with them in creating a data science program in finance that will be online. And those courses will be available to the online MBA students as well. But part of our design here is, as we have created, we now have 6 different online master's programs, and we created them in a kind of carousel fashion, which means if you want to go deep into HR, you can take all of the HR stuff that our human resources master's students take. If you want to go deep into business analytics, you can take everything that our masters in business analytics, our data science and finance students can take. Same thing for global supply chain, for economics. So there's an opportunity to go very, very deep in this. And through a combination of the faculty that we have hired and the deep connections we have with the colleges of science and engineering and the Purdue Polytechnic, we've been able to create some cool stuff. There'll be some new coursework, for example, on cybersecurity as part of the data analytics program that we've done jointly with scientists here on campus. We have one of the best cybersecurity research centers in the entire world here, and a lot of great coursework that typically sits kind of across campus among the more technically oriented people. But goodness, business people need to understand cybersecurity and the challenges it creates. And so students in our program will have that opportunity.
That's great. Let's talk a little bit about the basics of your online MBA approach, meaning what can a student expect when they enroll in the program? I mean, how does it start? Do you have live internet classes? If so, how often are they? Are there office hours online with faculty? Do students really get to know each other? Because that's always a concern of people who are considering online MBA programs. You mentioned one specialization. How many do you have? I know, okay. Bundle of questions. Yeah. You can take them in any order you'd like.
Right. Why don't we start with the student experience? Because I think that's probably at the heart of what a lot of students will be interested in. Perfect. So the first piece is that we have 3 starts. We in an online space, students transition from thinking about to enrolling in a program much more quickly than they do residentially, because among other things, they aren't leaving their job and moving someplace, right? So you could make a decision and a week later be taking classes. So 3 starts a year. Our cohorts are averaging around 50 to 60 students per start. So it's not, you're not with an overwhelming number of students like some programs have. And that 50 to 60 is enough for a good deal, especially when you accumulate it over 3 starts. You can have a lot of richness in the coursework you are offered over your time, but there's still a good deal of intimacy between the student teams within a given cohort. The students have the courses are primarily well, how do I want to say this? If a student wants to do primarily asynchronous experiences, they can do that. right? So the material is all online. You can do readings and lectures and interacted in the discussion boards whenever it works for you. But every class also has live sessions each week, live office hours, team meetings, and these kinds of things that students can participate in at their discretion. And the reason we've done it that way is that we think it's very important that in any given week, if you're a working professional, this may be the week when everything happens, that a quarterly report is due, some major project has got to be due, and there's simply no way I can show up and attend a synchronous course section. So we don't want to disadvantage students who are juggling the challenges of work and school and life. So that's available. But we also recognize that a program that consists only of doing asynchronous online stuff can be kind of sterile, right? Yeah. And we really have to generate as much interactivity as the students are capable of and interested in, given their experiences. So the faculty are available multiple times a week for each class to do synchronous office hours and discussion sections. We have a lot of social hours. In fact, I will be meeting with a group of our MBA students. I think they're calling themselves the Krannert Lions. They're students who are over the age of 40. And so we'll do a social hour, share some beers, and just kind of talk about some of the stuff I'm working on in my research on the future of work. And so we'll have, and then we've been able to bring in lots and lots of these different sort of spot engagements. Bring in someone who's leading remote work HR practices and just have an informal discussion. And really kind of build on the things we were talking about earlier to create a lot of synchronous interaction that fits well with students' schedules. So that's kind of what I would say about the student experience. You asked about specializations. So right now we have 4 specializations. So there's one in business analytics, we talked about that. One in innovation and technology commercialization, that builds on the unique capabilities of the Purdue Foundry. A third one on global supply chain management. We have a highly ranked program there, and there's just a lot of interest these days in those kinds of issues, especially as COVID has just destroyed supply chains worldwide. And people with the capabilities to solve those problems dynamically, very, very important. So that, and then finally one in leadership, negotiation, and change management. And so each one of those courses, or each one of those specializations, builds on deeper capabilities that we have in other master's programs, and enables you to go as deep as you want to go as part of that. So,
and the time frame to complete the program can be as short as blank and as long as what?
Yeah, I think we've organized it so students can do it in as little as 2 years. Mm-hmm. And the outer range of it, I think, is I'm not even sure it's bounded. I mean, if students wanted to take 5 or 6 years, they could take that long if they want. One of the things that we have seen in our Masters in Economics program that we've had running for something like 8 years now, some students go boom, 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 and they're done in 1.5 years, 2 years. Other students, life happens, sure. Work happens. And they take a little bit longer to get through. And I think as long as students are making steady progress, then that all works out just fine.
Now, even beyond the specializations, I'm wondering, because you have so much expertise in certain areas, and particularly in areas where you have other masters, specialty master's programs in business. A good example would be HR, which very few schools have. Precious few. You can count them on one hand. I wonder if in your electives in the online MBA program, you'd be able to dive deeper into human resource issues, even though it's not a specialization.
Yeah, so absolutely. As we built these programs, the notion was to organize them around an MBA core, and then to stand up additional masters that would attract students in their own right, but then also generate sort of cross opportunities for other degree programs.
Right.
So yeah, so any student in any one of our online programs can take a course in any other program. And if we take the HR program as an example, there's lots of great coursework there around HR analytics and change management and a lot of the things that HR folks wrestle with all the time. And so we've got a full 30 credit hour master's program there. And so the online MBA students can take as much of that as they want. And if it turns out that we wind up with a lot of students doing that, we'll probably create a specialty track there as well.
Right.
In fact, our in a lot of ways, the richness allows for a bit of a choose your own adventure kind of experience that is difficult to do in other contexts.
Yeah, totally. And David, what kind of students are you drawing? In other words, are you drawing from how many different states, and are you drawing from outside the country?
Yeah, so I think if we were to go through and let's look at it geographically first, and then we do geographic cut and then some of the demographics. We're drawing students from really all over the country, and I would say we're probably about 80-20 domestic versus international at this point. I think that actually the international component may grow over time. Especially as we're picking up a lot of students connected to business analytics internationally. So about 80-20. A lot of places, a lot of schools, when they go online, it's a bit of a paradox. You'd think distance wouldn't matter, but they tend to be very concentrated in their home state. That's not been the case for us. We have students from really, pretty much in proportion to where population centers are. They've enrolled. Demographically, our students are they are probably on average early 30s. We have I can't remember the exact number of sort of like women and URM students and so on, but it's actually considerably higher than what we've been able to enjoy in our residential program because of the flexibility. And I think the other part that's been a real success point for us is that we're attracting students from leading technology companies, and in particular aerospace. So Purdue has this amazing history in aerospace and aeronautical engineering. Neil Armstrong, first man on the moon, was a Purdue graduate. We've had 26 astronauts. We have very deep connections to aerospace engineering companies, Lockheed, Raytheon, Collins, Boeing, all down the line. We have a bunch of students from aerospace engineering companies, and we see that across a wide range of other technology-oriented firms. And I think that reflects both who we are as a university and the unique kind of flavor we have to this online MBA.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Most people think, and I want to get your take on this. Most people think that if you want to accelerate your career where you already are in a particular company that employs you, or even in your industry, an online MBA or part-time MBA or an executive MBA is a great option. But if you want to actually do a major career transition, it's often thought that a 2-year MBA program with a summer internship that gets your toes in the door of a new place, new industry, new company, new geography, whatever, new discipline, is the better choice. What's your take on that? Are you finding more online MBA students who actually want to use the online experience for a career transition?
So I think we're seeing a couple of things. The first is students sometimes will think to themselves, maybe I want to transition, or maybe I like where I am, but what I want to do is explore. And I want to explore without giving up the option to stay where I am. Mm-hmm. And so I actually was having a conversation with a number of prospective students who were employed at amazing companies, and they saw this potentially as a way to level up within the company, but without having given up that option to also explore what other top opportunities are, right? And so I think it's really everything that you can learn in an online MBA, and certainly in our hours, because it's really meant to create transformative sort of educational opportunities. Students will have the opportunity, if that's what they want, to really switch careers. And so, I think there are a couple of interesting angles to this. So if you think about folks who are coming from a STEM background, a lot of our students are, and a lot of Purdue grads are more generally, and they say, I need to add the business and the leadership elements to that in order to go someplace pretty special. They will be very, very well qualified to do that, both by way of their undergraduate degree, the work experience they've had, and then their experience with us in developing some of those leadership skills. But the other part of it that I think is at least as important is you have folks who don't have engineering or science degrees, but who want to get engaged in a technology company, right? Maybe they're in consumer products or something like that, and they really want to go to something more high tech. A program like ours gives you the opportunity to make that jump, partly because of what's in the coursework, but also because of who you're exposed to and what kind of people you're in classes with. So for those kinds of transitions, we're pretty excited about that opportunity. Someone who might want to be in the HR space or finance or marketing or something in a technology company, and because they spend time around folks who have those technology capabilities, and because we're going to do these frontier courses that give you a chance to sort of understand these technologies and the business opportunities they create and destroy, we think we'll facilitate a significant amount of job changing if that's what students want.
Right. So I know we discussed before your first cohort started in January of 2020. I wonder, how you've tweaked the program since its very early start, and what you as an academic and as a dean has learned about online learning in that time.
Yeah, so keep in mind that corresponds to COVID. So there's a whole lot of learning going on throughout all of that stuff.
True.
I think there are a couple of pieces that you asked a little bit earlier about the mix of asynchronous and synchronous content, right? And I think that is a piece that we will continue to explore with our students. And at the end of the day, we want to offer them as much synchronous richness as they want, but without requiring things that become onerous and undesirable. And so there's going to be a constant evolution of that process. The second thing that we're learning about, and we haven't really been able to do because of COVID, but we think we'll be able to, is if we get some relief from vaccines and the rest, is what is the right amount of residential exposure that an online student wants? Now, you'll sometimes hear the claim that students in online programs don't feel engaged because they're not physically part of the place. We think there's an opportunity to do short sprints, and I don't mean a semester. I might mean a weekend or a week where you would come to campus or to other places, get to see people in person, but also take advantage of some of the unique capabilities on this campus. So we'll offer a number of those opportunities, and we'll see how many people take advantage of it. We're going to kind of feel our way through that and see what students are interested in. I mean, I think the last piece is just kind of at the faculty level. Because so many of us were forced with this transition, and we did the transition. We saw what was happening in Wuhan, and the university started shutting down around China, and then Europe, through January and February 2020. We went on a pretty aggressive crash course to get ready to transition all our programs online in the spring of 2020. And there was a lot of trepidation about it, but we got used to it, we learned from it, and then we really tackled something which I think is a profound question, which is, what can you best do when you're sitting face-to-face with a person? What can you best do asynchronously? And what can you accomplish in sessions like we're having right now?
Right.
And so just challenging yourself to ask the question, what is the value of being in a room with a person? Or what is the value of having a face-to-face conversation, even if it's virtually? And optimizing content and learning styles and all the rest to reflect that. That's an evolution that we have gone through in a forced way because of COVID. Lots of other institutions are undergoing that as well. And I think if you have the right people and the right attitude, you come out of this experience with a far deeper appreciation of what programs can be and what value they can offer, whether they're online or residential.
Right. Good points. All good points. So help a person who's out there thinking, okay, I'm really interested in an online experience. Are there certain is there a decision tree for me? Are there certain things I need to check off to know that this is the ideal experience that I want to have, and not an evening part-time program, not a weekend program, not a specialty master's program, not a full-time 2-year residential program? How do you make that decision? Could you help someone through that process?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question, and I'll tell you that our full-time recruiters spend a lot of their time trying to help people through that, and not just like trying to shoehorn them into a program that doesn't make sense for them, but helping them to explore that question in more depth. I like to start, when I talk to people, start with the question of where do you want to be when you're on the far side of this? Because that's, at the end of the day, that's the most important question. Where do you want to be? What kind of capabilities do you need to add to get you to that place? You will see, and then, okay, so then second, what are the experiences that I want to have? And experiences could be coursework, it could be consulting opportunities, it could be interacting with my peers or with faculty. What are the experiences I think are going to help shape those capabilities? And then I think the third question you get to is things like, all right, am I in a financial place where I can leave my job? Where is it that I want to, if I've got a family, do I want to move my family for 2 years? And you can kind of think of some of these kind of modality questions third. But I think in general, if you start from where do I want to get, what capabilities do I need, how am I going to add them, and then some of these questions about mode, program, and those kinds of things sort of follow from that. We don't think there's a right program. We don't, how do I want to say this? Different programs are right for different people.
Right.
And we created a program that is going to be the perfect program for some folks, and it's not going to be the right fit for others. And that's okay, because there's a lot of great programs out there. But we think for the kinds of people we want, people who have strong STEM backgrounds and want to lead organizations, or who want to go into technology companies, we think it's a great program. If you want to be at the top of what at the frontier of data science applied to business, we're a great place to be. So if those things are interesting to people, we'd love to talk with you, because we think we've got a pretty exciting group of students and an amazing faculty working in the program.
Yeah, and as you pointed out too, I think, and this is an important factor in every MBA program, every graduate program, after all, the people who are in the class with you, whether it's virtual or whether it's in person, you're going to learn a lot from. And the experiences that they bring, they're going to share with you. You're going to share in solving the challenges that are in front of them today, and they're going to help you solve the challenges that you're having at work. And that is a massive benefit. And as you pointed out earlier before, a lot of opportunities in careers come from these interactions. So, okay, I'm interested in making this transition, and I have someone in my class who I get to know, who's already there, and that person can be my buddy, my mentor, my friend, and help me make that transition. I think a lot of that is happening in the online space today.
Oh, it absolutely is. And I think the thing that we've been able to accomplish that I'm pretty excited about is, because we've been able to scale up, you have access to people within and across cohorts who are coming from a really broad range of different backgrounds, different industry experiences, and so on, And so, we make it easy to facilitate, we help facilitate connections within and across. Since you're not bumping into people in the hallway, so we have to take an extra step to ensure that people can find affinity groups within their cohorts and across cohorts. That's an area for growth for us, and we think when we've got that fully mastered, the true value of an online experience is really going to take off.
Terrific. David, it's been a real pleasure.
John, it's always fun talking with you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yep, that's David Hummels, the Dean of the Krannert School of Management at Purdue University. We've got a really great and differentiated online MBA program. We've talked all about the differentiation and why it's special and different. And I really think, some of the interdisciplinary work with the great world-class engineering school is part of it. I love the idea of a day in the life of the CEO, and getting your alumni to contribute to an online course like that is really special. And of course, the data-driven approach that's really drilled throughout the program, not in a single course, but you're going to get this in everything, and it's going to make a difference. So this is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching our webinar on Purdue University's online MBA and their data-driven approach.
Thanks, everyone.